Okay, I want to show another way to make a calendar or planning document that you can use as a teacher to keep track of like what you're doing, or if you have administration that wants to know a bunch of details, then this could be another way to do it. I do like having calendars that look like monthly calendars, but I also think that this has its uses as far as being able to update from year to year. I think will end up being easier, and I'll show you why. And this also is because I got a comment on my previous video talking about lesson plan requirements and using a Google form to create a spreadsheet and that sort of thing. That's definitely something we could do, is use a Google form to create a Google spreadsheet, or to use Microsoft Forms to create a spreadsheet. But to me, it seems like it would be easier just to go straight to the spreadsheet. And if that's not true for you, then essentially what I'm going to be doing is putting column titles across the top, and that's what you would want your Google form or Microsoft form to have as its questions for you to input. And so what I want to do is actually start off with a column for the day of the week it is. And just like in the previous video, we're going to utilize this little box here that lets me basically drag in. So if I stop here, it's showing me, hey, Monday's in the last square I have, a rectangle, I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, and then of course, once it gets to Saturday, it switches back to Sunday, because that's how the days of the weeks go. You don't have to worry about making it go as far as you need it to on the first drag, because you can always come back and at the end drag some more. So in case you're worried about that, if you don't know this about Excel, and I think the tables in I'm pretty sure the tables in Word do this as well. If I come up here to the end of the A column on the right side and double click, it will make it where it fits all of the cells left to right. I'm also going to make a column for the date. And the reason I did Sunday and Saturday as well in here is because I think whenever it comes to updating it for the next year, it's going to end up making it easier. And I actually like being able to see the separation, right? I'm not going to have any information on Saturdays or Sundays for school stuff. And so there's naturally going to be a break to show me week to week what's going on. So for date, this is what I showed off yesterday. That yesterday was 7/30/2023. And if I just take this and drag it, it's going to automatically go through dates. And as long as I know that I started on the right one, it should not have a problem with keeping up with like matching the day and the date. Like, it should work. So see, this got me all the way to February. That seems like an okay start. If you ever are doing this and you see these number symbols or hashtags, as the kids be calling them, it means that it's not wide enough to show what it wants to show. And so again, I'm going to come to the end of the B column and I'm going to double click so that it is wide enough to see our longest dates. From here, a lot of what you're going to do is dependent on what you need to do, as far as like what is your admin requiring, or what is it most helpful for you to know. So I was brainstorming with a teacher friend earlier, like maybe you are required to write essential questions. So the essential question for a day. Another thing that is similar would be like the objective. We might need to list a standard or standards that we're covering on a particular day. We might have like things that we like to have as far as our class goes on a daily basis. Like maybe you do a bell ringer and then some lecturing kind of time. And then, so I'm a math teacher. So for me, it's bell ringer, a time going over examples, then guided practice, then individual practice with some sort of activity or something, maybe on some days. And so those would be the things that I would list. So bell work, lesson activity closer, all these like buzzy kind of things that we do these days, whatever the latest and greatest thing that is required of us. So if you felt more comfortable using a form to basically have these things asked of you, that then on a daily or however often basis you would say, okay, so for today, August 15th, I need to fill in my essential question, blah, blah, blah. And then from the form, it creates a spreadsheet of answers, and so you'd be able to see it. And then once you have, a full spreadsheet, basically, you can save that from year to year. That's great. I personally like the idea of using just the spreadsheet at the get-go, because then I can go through more easily, I think, and visualize things. Like, for one thing, my school isn't going to start until September. I don't know about you guys. So I wouldn't even need this first part right here on mine. If I wanted to get rid of that, I would press delete and tell it to shift the cells up. It might work to shift cells left, but we want them to go up more so than we want them to go to the left. So I don't actually know if school starts on the Tuesday after Labor Day or the Wednesday, but this is at least closer. One of the things I would do right off the bat here is go through and put in days that are off. Veterans Day, November 10th is maybe something that we have off. And so I would, put basically maybe in the first column or whatever, no school. And I like to say why, so that future me doesn't have to look up why we didn't have school. So that I also can say, okay, well, that's probably something that we're going to have off in the future. It just will be adjusted by a day or so. One thing we can do here is I'm going to have to remember how to do it, but we can make it so that this top row will stay, and as long as we like while we're scrolling down, it just stays there. Let me see if I can remember how to do that. I had to look it up, but what we need to do is we need to go to view, which is like the one place I didn't look for it. We want to freeze panes, and we want to freeze the top row. And what that's going to do is make it to where that top row stays where it is, so that if I'm scrolling down to October, well, if I'm scrolling down to January, it's going to still show this as the top. So that's super helpful, so that I don't have to remember the order myself. And at any point in time, whenever I'm putting stuff in here, like essential question, that's going to be something long, so maybe I don't want to make it fill out the whole thing, but I probably at least want to make it bigger than it is, so I can do that. Another thing I can do, because I don't want these to be super wide columns, even though I'm going to end up having possibly a lot of information, is I can take a column and I can format cells. I might decide to just say, oh, I want this to be text, so that it doesn't try to format it differently. Most of the time that's not necessary, and you can just leave it on general, but if you wanted to, you could change it to text. But if we go to the alignment, we can tell it to wrap text, so that it'll wrap the text around instead of just having it go into the cell next to it. Then when you fill in the cell right, you won't be able to see the rest of the text because of the next cell. What I actually want to do next with this spreadsheet is use ChatGPT to help me fill in some of these things. And I want to show you how I can do that, how I can use AI to work on filling this in a way that may or may not be easier than what we've done in the past. So I'm going to leave this here for now, with just this idea that I'm going to fill it in more later, and I will share this spreadsheet like I did the previous one, so that if you need to or want to have some place to start from, you can. thanks so much for watching, and if you like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content like this. I'm gonna have a whole thing going here by the end of this that I think you'll be excited to see. So thanks for watching.